It'll probably solve some of our biggest energy, medical, human challenges, and every industry is going to be affected by it. So what is it? It's just a tool, but I think it's the most important tool ever invented.
Everyone here is here because they want something, productivity, better clients, more money, and they're looking at the utilization of AI as a vehicle to get them to what it is that they want. You know, I always want to figure out stuff, and I'm fascinated by just why people do what they do and the way things work, and I'm always meddling with things to try to, I'm very curious, and I think curiosity, and it was, Einstein said curiosity is more important than intelligence.
We combine our unique abilities and created valuable intellectual property in less than an hour, and I used AI and no one else did, and then we made a little video commercial. And Dan said something along the lines of, that would have cost $250,000 and 4 to 6 months of work if a traditional agency would have done that. I have a tool that made me more human. I'm happy because of it. I'm working with people I love. I'd rather create a couple billionaires and more millionaires and I just want to be with them. Collaboration is what I love.
Ladies and gentlemen, yes, all of you, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce a true visionary and dear friend, Mike Koenigs. Mike is a serial entrepreneur, master marketing and pioneer in digital transformation. Today, we're going to discuss harnessing AI to drive innovation and business growth. Mike will share some strategies to encapsulate the Genius Network's essence in AI and explore its endless possibilities. Get ready to unlock new levels of execution with AI, and that was written by AI. Okay.
I could tell.
Yes.
Yeah. Hi, brother.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
So, all right. So today I'd like to talk to people that have been sitting in this room all day. How long has everyone here been going through the training?
So we finished 2 cohorts. Each have been 90 days each. Mm-hmm. So they started last year. And basically everyone goes through weekly, it's like a session on a playbook where they learn a specific strategy, and the next one's an Ask Me Anything. So they get execution, all their questions answered, kind of like what we were doing today, free form. Yeah. So the whole idea is do something that you can get a result and have an aha and walk away with something that's done. I think that's the most important thing.
Okay. So here's what I would like to start with is what is AI and why should anyone here care about it?
Well, imagine all of human information and knowledge stored in a system that you can interact with and get an answer to just about anything. I did not say stored wisdom. So I think it's the most transformational tool since the internet, and I think it will help human beings evolve if it's used properly and make us more human, which I wouldn't necessarily bet on. But I think it's completely going to transform the way we think, learn. It'll probably solve some of our biggest energy, medical, human challenges, and every industry is going to be affected by it. So what is it? It's just a tool, but I think it's the most important tool ever invented. Mm-hmm. And what was the second part of the question?
Well, why should anyone care? And I mean, it's sort of a rhetorical question, but it's like, let me add this to it. So,
yeah, what do you think?
Well, let's equate it to, let's just say the internet and social media. So, which I know is completely different, but most people don't use social media, they're used by it. So a lot of people are not going to utilize AI, they're going to be used by it. And I think there's a...
We already have been.
So part of this discussion and conversation today is as our friend Dan Sullivan says, the problem is not the problem is how you think about the problem. Yes. And so it's thinking about your thinking. Yeah. So the opportunity is not the opportunity, it's how you think about the opportunity. Mm-hmm. So everyone here is here because they want something, productivity, better clients, more money, and they're looking at the utilization of AI as a vehicle to get them to what it is that they want. And so how does one utilize this and not get used by it?
Yep. So I'm going to share a Dan Sullivanism to answer that question, which is we built a clone of Dan for one of his books. And he tried it out. He said, yeah, it's pretty good. But there's one thing I know for sure, and that is people don't want to ask me questions. They want me to ask them questions. And that was so profound. And I think you have to remember it's a tool, and you have to make the main thing the main thing. Mm-hmm. And one thing, when we were at Genius Network yesterday, you played a Dan Kennedy video of Dan talking about who he thought you were. He just said, you're a student of marketing. And he said a whole bunch of other flowery, funny things too. And I think at the end of the day, there's a couple problems we all have. Number one, the main thing from a business perspective is how do you tell better stories that get better customers to pay you more money and for you to differentiate yourself so you're seen as a category of one. So I'd say that's number one, is make the main thing from a business perspective. It is so easy, and part of the frustration of everyone that's been here in some way, shape, or form is there are so many shiny objects. There are hundreds of new tools that are coming out every week. It's absolutely overwhelming, and I think you only need about 10 to really make a difference, really 5 that can make a profound shift, and also becoming a specialist. Yeah. So the last thing on that is we all have people problems. Our first problem is us. I get in my way, you get in your way, and we forget how to dream bigger and be positive and all that. And then we got people who work for us who stop evolving, they stop growing, they stop learning, or they don't do what they need to do because they're unresourceful or their trauma gets in their way.
Yeah. So I think for me, I have to look at this from a beginner's mind, right? And I also have all this preconditioning of how I've done my life, how I've figured things out. And there's an advantage with not knowing certain things when something new happens, because now you have to unlearn all of the things that so I think in order to best adopt AI, and again, I can only speak for myself, I have to unlearn a bunch of ways that go about it. And the way I equate it is, the first recorded use of the word entrepreneur was in 1804 by a French guy named Jean-Baptiste Say, who said an entrepreneur is an individual that takes resources from a lower yield to a higher yield, from a lower level of productivity to a higher level of productivity. So whenever you make something better, that's entrepreneurship. And so an analogy I've used to explain that is there are axes and lumberjacks, and they are chopping down trees. And then all of a sudden someone invents a chainsaw, and it is a more effective, efficient way to take down a tree. And if you're the first person to show this chainsaw to a bunch of lumberjacks who have made their whole life putting forth effort in chopping down trees,
you're taking my job.
Exactly. They're gonna be like, what the, first off, their worldview is, it's very hard to wrap your head around. This is a better thing, and it's very hard for taxi drivers or hotels to accept Airbnb or Uber and all of these innovations. And now we have one that's infinitely faster, greater, bigger, and affects everything. It's not just in industry, it's everything. And so when and you're talking to a world filled with, for lack of a better comparison, lumberjacks. And all of a sudden you have like the most efficient, it's a lightsaber, that can think for you and can clone yourself, and you don't even need to hold. I mean, it's this, and it replaces some of the most creative cognitive skills and does it better. So with that, most of things that are going to change, I don't even know what that is, right? All I can do right now is sort of prepare my mind and learn the abilities that I need to do. So my question here is, how do you think about this because I've seen you're a promoter. You are a guy who studied marketing and sales. You actually like to entertain.
I hate being poor. That's really what it is. That's my trauma.
So that's a good one. So I've seen you adopt a bunch of things, but this you've really taken a liking to, and I think you do. I've sat in rooms with people that are brilliant at AI, but they can't communicate it like you communicate it in ways to just everyday people on how to use it. So I think there's the ability to translate this to others in how you position yourself. And I think the years of marketing that you studied in salesmanship applied here are really valuable. And I think if every person in this room left and said, okay, I know how to double my productivity.
Yep.
I know how to write, copy, promote myself, and position myself in greater ways, they would all have an advantage. They would have a greater advantage. Because I think, no matter who and what I'll say with this is that, since we talked about Dan Kennedy, last interview I did with Dan on my podcast, and I've spoken at a ton of his events. He used to speak at all of my events back in that, and he said, you first get paid for what you do. And then if you're really good at getting paid for what you do, you then start getting paid for who you are. Yep. And so famous people do more whoing than they do whatting, right? So once you become a who, like a Kardashian, or you become like someone famous, you could just simply get paid to walk into a room. And you have all of these personalities and all of these people. Now you have a system that can do a better what than most of the people. And we're going to see people that were really known for who they are. Now someone's going to come along with the advantage of AI, and they're going to blow them out of the water. So how does one harness this to make themselves not only a really effective what, but a really effective who?
Yep.
And so you're known, and I think you as an early adopter here, no matter what happens, because there are people that are way better at all this shit than you are.
For sure.
But the way that you're packaging it and the way that you're presenting it and making it useful, it doesn't matter. Because there's always someone smarter than all of us. Yeah. But they're not out there promoting. They're not out there packaging. And so this still requires unique packaging. So to simplify my question is, how does everyone here with these tools become the most effective what and the most effective who in their worlds, not our worlds?
So I wrote down a couple ideas while you were going through that. Thank you, by the way. So when you talk about getting paid for what you do versus who you are, so it's like information has no value. There's a very famous person who was in the room with us today, and he asked me some questions. He said, I've got 150 hours of interviews. And I said, doesn't have any value anymore. Back when we started info marketing, thud factor, a whole bunch of books meant something. We got a stack of stuff and we'd pay for it, and we'd go to like Carlton Sheets and yada, yada, yada. And it was like knowing that we had that stuff meant we could reference it and use it when we needed it. So it was like just-in-time learning had value. Internet destroyed that. It didn't devalue information. It just meant all information was kind of available all the time if you knew how to get access to it, or you could pay for it cheaper. And then you think about what AI now. So here's the evolution. I'm going to answer your question, but I think evolutionary, I was thinking about like, what do I see everyone experience? First of all, a lot of anxiety. I had an anxiety attack this week thinking about AI because I got overwhelmed, and I thought, holy crap, like I got my head around this pretty well, but I got scared because it's moving way, way too fast. And every evolution of the next version of ChatGPT is going to make a bunch of businesses obsolete. Bunch of jobs obsolete. And there's a whole bunch of people who have never touched or used AI, and they don't even know that they should be afraid of this little phantasm that's floating around. And that terrifies me. So what's the cure? Curiosity. That's your greatest quality, by the way. You're endlessly curious. You'll talk to anyone. It gives you access to anything and anyone, and that's a human skill. That is not an AI skill.
I'll just say this, even though I'm interrupting.
It's okay.
I've never had that discussion with him about curiosity, and it's something I rarely say, but that is also, I think, my greatest advantage is I'm insatiably curious, and I ask people a ton of questions, and I always want to figure out stuff, and I'm fascinated by just why people do what they do and the way things work, and I'm always meddling with things to try to, I'm very curious, and I think curiosity, and Einstein said curiosity is more important than intelligence.
And you know what else is? You said the other word. I think it's your other greatest quality, fascination. You're fascinated, and for good reasons. And that's a human skill. There is not another Joe Polish. So if you go from, listen to that, huh? This is an I love you conversation here, but anxiety to curiosity to, here's what happened, and it's what happened to me the first time I really used AI, and I was like, I'm not sure. I was scared. I'm sitting around kind of spinning. It didn't work for me. I got frustrated, and I got that call from Peter. He said, will you speak? And by then I had kind of figured out a few things, and it was like, I'm going to get great at this. I'm going to hang my reputation on the line. So I think a willingness to take a risk on your reputation, your identity, leads to that shift. Like, what is it, if you think about what is it that made you make the biggest shift in your life and learn the most in the shortest period of time, what was it?
Desperation more than inspiration. I mean, some people get inspired. I was just in a lot of pain, and I needed to get the hell out of it. And so I needed to find a way out of, I needed to quit drowning. And so it was moving away from pain, not towards pleasure. And I think I just had enough frustration where I was just so sick of it, and I was putting forth effort, but it's that whole, there's no relationship between being good at what you do and getting paid.
Yep, desperation versus inspiration. I think you just nailed it. And what would cause you to make a shift in behavior that reprograms and rewires your brain? And I think what happened when I witnessed the abundance, the access to all information again, and knowledge too. It wasn't just information. And then so I wrote down, so you go from info, knowledge, wisdom. So the implementation thing is record everything and learn how to ask better questions. If you stay in a state of curiosity, fascination, and abundance, there is almost nothing we can't figure out or solve now with AI, and soon, I mean, I just heard this and I looked it up, and it seems to be true, okay? That human knowledge is doubling every 12 hours. Now, most of it is crap. It is not wisdom.
Yeah, there's a lot of data. But data has to be turned into something.
Yeah. So back to what you were saying earlier about how I've been able to adapt. I'll tell you, my secret is simple. Use cases. I go out, I ask a lot of questions, and I'm like, I think I can figure out how to fix that, and I'm resourceful because I was poor. I had nothing growing up. Yeah. So it's good programming.
Yeah. Well, and I think for me is I've always attempted to put myself in proximity of smart people that know more about shit than I do, and I always try to start with a beginner's mind that I don't know anything. Some of the ways
that's a human skill, by the way. Proximity. That's another writer downer.
Yeah.
That's your other third greatest. If we're going to do it in order, so curiosity, fascination, proximity.
Yeah. And I want to position myself at the top of other people's agendas. And that requires,
say that again?
I want to position myself at the top of other people's agendas. So I'm useful to them. And I had many discussions. My friend Dave Kekich, who passed away, spent half his life in a wheelchair. He wrote 100 credos. And one of the things he put in his credos, life gives to the giver and takes from the taker. It says that up there on the wall. Yep. The title of one of my books, Life Gives to the Giver. And so in order to position myself at the top of other people's agendas, I have to give more than I take. I have to have my want of what I want to not be greater than my give. And so in order to position yourself, like even with my consumer awareness guide to carpet cleaners, which I talked about earlier, since we're recording this, it was one of my first marketing tools. I had to figure out how to sell something nobody wants to buy. No one's excited about hiring a carpet cleaner. Some things are bought. People go buy food, they go buy clothes, they go to concerts. That's enjoyable. no one gets excited about hiring a carpet cleaner. Like, I hope the cat pisses in the corner so I can call a car. You know, it's like, it's one of these, I want to go to the DMV and get my driver's license. Like, there's nothing exciting about that. So when you have to figure out how to persuade or sell people something that nobody wants to buy, it makes you really think about the position that they are in. And my consumer awareness guide, even if they never hired me, I taught.
Are you going to talk about your consumer awareness guide again?
Yeah,
it's okay.
No, but here's the thing: it's make your advertising useful. So the point is be useful and valuable to people no matter what. So if you're going to use AI or if you're going to use a broom, you know, just be useful with it. And so, because the world wants useful, enthusiastic people that care about them. People do business with people they like. And so you can get up here. I've heard some very smart AI people. We've been in the same rooms with the people that create these platforms, and some of them are boring as shit.
Most of them are boring.
They're knowledgeable, but they don't know how to. So here's what I think some of the greatest opportunity is to be a human.
And
Go in, if you're young, don't just live behind a screen. Go talk to people, go interact, ask people out on dates, even if you're scared shitless. You know, don't think of it as rejection, think of it as taking a survey of who has good taste and who doesn't. I mean, you know, even if you have to trick your brain into, like, go out and talk to people. And that is where I think there's going to be this chasm of, now that you can have AI write for you, talk with you, think for you, you don't have to go and perform. But you know what? Getting on stage, doing the things that scare you, that is what's going to accelerate you, because you can't have fear without excitement, and you can't have excitement without fear. You know, you got Martha McSally here. Let me interrupt you
just for a second, because I want to punctuate what you're talking about. Here's my prediction. In the next 2 and 10 years, entertainment is going to get classified as AI entertainment, human entertainment. And you know what one of the most valuable skills ever is going to be? That's going to be respected and loved, playing real instruments. I guarantee it's going to come back like a savage.
Being a real artist, being a real speaker, being someone that just can create something, because when the machines can create it all, it becomes a scarce resource. And you know, Cal Newport, who I've interviewed before, he's written a whole bunch of books. So, you know, he had the one first book that he became well known for was So Good They Can't Ignore You. And that was a line from Steve Martin when he was asked, you know, what makes you a great comedian? He's like, what makes a great comedian? You got to be so good they can't ignore you. So when everyone has access to AI, how do you utilize it so you're so good that the way you're using it, they can't ignore you?
So here's the part 2, the stack to that. So everything you've been talking about in your last one of your qualities is positioning, right? Do a great job of that. So every problem is a storytelling problem. That's a classic marketing thing. Now, the reason why I've been good at and successful at, and I get asked back to speak about AI, is because I open up with entertainment, and I'm using whatever the latest thing is, whether it's AI generated music, or, you know, before it was like whatever, puppets and whatever. It's entertainment. So when you think about what's the problem every business owner has, how do you differentiate yourself? It's storytelling, but it's packaging, positioning, messaging. And I heard those words for 30 years, and I don't think I really understood them until 6 years ago. I really got it. And I'm like, ugh. All right. How do you make yourself unique? It's like, look, I am not special. I'm far from it. But I figured out how to navigate a weird brain.
Yeah.
Right? Just like you figured out how to navigate a weird brain. And if you listen to Dan Sullivan, he says 5% of the human population are entrepreneurs, and all of us are aliens. And if you're here and you've figured out how to be successful, you figured out how to navigate your unique weird brain and package it.
Yeah, well, here's the funny thing too that I've thought of a lot, because you know, I've read over 1,000 books. I've gone to more seminars than almost anyone I know. I've done.
Is that all? Only 1,000? It's got to be more than that. I think you've been saying that for 10 years.
It's got to be more. It's definitely more, but you know, it's like it's hard to keep track of it at this point.
You should update your number.
And maybe.
Yeah, 19. 1,991.
No, but here's the. So I've been to a ton of therapy. I've sat through many 12-step groups. I'm always working on the flawed human that I am, and I hear people all the time. They come to any learning event, anything. I'm trying to learn something. I'm trying to figure this out.
Yep.
And there's a whole bunch of people here, and every person here has a different, worldview, problems, challenges, opportunities. Everyone has. Everyone here has a different definition of success, and they're all trying to figure stuff out. And I find it kind of funny because people are like, well, what do I need to do? What's the next step? How do I do this? And it dawned on me that you're doing it by sitting in the room, that you're doing it by reading the book, you're doing it by listening to the podcast. And part of it is, what do you do? It's just the willingness to actually be on the path. It's not that you arrive anywhere, you're just on the journey. And some people are not on the journey. I remember before the internet existed, 3% of the American population owned a library card. Most people do not read. Most people, like in our world, we're like, these different speakers, these different personalities. The average person does not know who the hell these people are. There's movie stars that everyone knows.
Socialism and communism gets recycled every once in a while.
Exactly.
Right? That's where the tipping point of envy and resentment shows up. It's a lack of a willingness to be curious, resourceful, to learn, to shift behavior, and get outside of a paradigm, a lie you've been telling yourself all your life, or someone else passed it on to you.
Yeah, at the time we're doing this, most people do not know anything about AI. Nothing. I mean, they've heard about it, they maybe dabble with it, but and most people sitting here are thinking, I am behind the curve. Most of the abundance, like our friend Peter Diamandis, he has Abundance 360. I created the very first event that became Abundance 360. And most of
that was an excellent positioning statement, by the way.
Yeah, of course. That's how I seed all these things. What the hell was that?
That was not me.
Okay. So so now I'm losing my train of thought.
Peter Diamandis, Abundance 360.
Oh, so the whole abundance movement is driven by scarcity. So people are like, I'm going to go to this event because I'm afraid of being left out, so we can hear about abundance. But it's like, oh shit. So here's the thing. FOMO drives so much. It really does. And people don't want.
This is one of the realest of real ones ever. I will say, like, with the internet, it was still kind of trying to figure itself out. This one is undeniable, right?
Yeah. And so since we talked about Dan Sullivan, I'll ask you the question this way. So Dan has this DOS conversation. And the DOS conversation is, if you ask someone, if we were to meet 3 years from today, what needs to happen?
Dan Sullivan question, you mean?
Did I say, who did I say?
You said DOS conversation. You mean the Dan Sullivan question?
Well, it's a DOS conversation, but it's a Dan Sullivan question, which is, if we were to meet 3 years from today, what needs to happen both personally and professionally for you to feel happy with your progress? We could say, if we were to meet a month from today, what needs to happen both personally and professionally for you to feel happy about this AI conversation, or 6 months from today? And everyone would have a different idea. But whatever your answer would be, the DOS is dangers, opportunities, and strengths. So every human, myself included, there's all these dangers that I have in my life. All of us have opportunities of where we want to go, and all of us have strengths. And people don't reach their opportunities if they can't eliminate their dangers. And so there's real dangers, like there could be a war, or there could be an illness or a sickness, or I don't have the money. I want to buy something, but I don't have the money. Then there's the psychological dangers, is I don't think I can learn AI. Oh, I'm too old. Oh, I'm too young. I don't have. And so most of the things that stop us from doing what it is we want to do are not real threats. They're psychological things. And so the psychological dangers are greater than the physical dangers. We're actually in the safest time in the world in human history, although since the pandemic it doesn't feel that way. Before, it's safer to fly than it ever has been, but when 9/11 happened, it didn't feel safe psychologically anymore. So the psychological dangers are what kill people. today more than they are the physical dangers, even though there's a lot of physical dangers and there are wars. There's a lot of difficult, terrible things that are happening on the in the world at any given time. But most of the stuff that we make up is our own worries and our own psychological dangers. And so in order to reach your opportunities, you have to eliminate or minimize your dangers. And the way that you do that is you borrow from your strengths. And so the more that you can strengthen yourself in different areas, like what are the great things about you? What are the awesome clients? By investing the time here today, how many of you feel more capable today at 4 p.m. than you did at 9 a.m. this morning as it relates to AI? That's pretty quick, right? Yeah. You learned all kinds of stuff. I mean, there's all kinds of, now you're not an expert in most of it, and a lot of it, like I just heard of the app, I haven't even used it yet, but that's a huge leap. And if you consistently do that every single day, and I sucked when I first started studying marketing, and I was broke, and I was living off credit cards, but I had this enthusiasm. I was like, I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna learn it. I'm gonna keep doing it. And then pretty soon, and so the reason most people don't get in better physical shape is they're not, so we got Dr. Jeff Spencer here, world-class coach, trained some of the world's top professional athletes, athlete himself. And basically, most people don't work out because they're not willing to work through the burn. Because if you've not lifted weights or run or done anything, and you just decide today I'm gonna start working out, you're gonna be sore as shit. And it's going to take a few weeks before the soreness goes away. But when you work through the burn, all of a sudden you get stronger. You get muscle, you get endurance. And most people won't work through the burn. So my question to you is, what's the best way that you think to work through this burn in order to get from what I do with all this to, man, I feel pretty good and I'm pretty skilled at this right now, because you have now figured out how to make a few $1 million a year with something that you weren't even doing a year ago. And you're not that bright.
Nope. Yep.
Nor am I.
Yep.
Nor am I.
Yep.
And I'm saying that.
Stupid and ugly, but he's up here right now.
You're quite bright, but it's not like you're some superhuman here. You just put a lot of effort into it.
I did put a lot of effort into it. So here's the best way to work through the burn. It's one of three things. I've been thinking about this a lot. One of them is to create a really useful product and use AI to tell a better story faster, to sell more stuff to a better audience. Okay, classic marketing. Another one is learn the tool to become, and I like 10 times more useful to other people than you were before. And right now, that's like shooting fish in a barrel. Like back when I started doing internet stuff, way before there was an internet, like acoustic coupler modems with rotary dial telephone in the 70s. And back when it cost it's either $5 or $15 for a roll of thermal paper to put in a Texas Instrument. We didn't have it off the screen, it was printing on paper, right? But I thought, this is the library of the future, and I always loved information. And I like microfiche back in the oldie-timey days. Right. Most of you don't even know what the hell that is. Obsessed with information and accumulating information. I had stacks and stacks of magazines, and I just wanted it. I wanted access to information. And it's because I was good at recalling useful things that would help someone and solve a problem. And it's like, Michael know the answer to that. So I was good at it. So the point is, I think AI can make you 10 times more useful and smarter without even trying. It's actually, you have to unlearn how to think to be more effective at it. Okay, so it's selling a better product, becoming more useful, or collaborating. And the story I started out with today with what happened at Strategic Coach, when we did an exercise, we combined our unique abilities and created valuable intellectual property in less than an hour. And I used AI and no one else did, and then we made a little video commercial. And Dan said something along the lines of, that would have cost $250,000 and 4 to 6 months of work if a traditional agency would have done that 15 years ago. And you did it in 40 minutes with basically free software. So the fact that you've got access to literally trillions of dollars of information, knowledge, tools, and infrastructure to build almost anything on a limitless basis, I think the first thing is you've got to be useful first. and like purpose, right? Again, a very human quality, which is what we're really afraid of, losing our relevance and purpose here. So I think being a little bit afraid is a good seed, but the easiest one is solve someone else's problem and get paid for it. Second one is sell something better, make something better and make yourself more unique. And the third one is collaboration is so damn easy, because I know, like, if you and I sit down and we have a goal and say, what's the biggest problem everyone in Genius Network has that we know of? And today we even talked about it. It's like email's one. This is another one. Put our heads to it. We could find a who or find a how and build a solution or a tool or acquire one and package it better than probably anyone else.
Right. Yeah, totally. Here's what I'd say. So there, you've heard of the content economy, the attention economy. So Evan Carmichael, we had a couple of guys here at the last 100K meeting, and they have an app called Thoughtful.
Yep.
And it was about curation, and the term came the curation economy. There's an endless amount of cool tools. We could talk about them. And I'll ask you that. And there's an endless amount of great information, but the ability to curate it. Yeah. And so as you're learning stuff, what's really helpful for people is not all the shit that they could use. It's the thing that they could use to solve the thing they want to solve. So the question, what needs solved, is a great question. Yep. So for instance, if I am going to choose from thousands of podcasts, thousands of books, all kinds of things, I have to sit and a focusing question for me is, what am I trying to solve in my life? That's what gets my attention.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what I'm going to focus on. And most people, we have a Genius Network member named Todd Murphy, and he has a quote, which is, you can't read the label when you're inside the jar. And when you're inside your own jar, it's good to have a sounding board of other people that care about you, that can literally help you think about something, because when you're in the middle of it, it's really hard to see it. And so that's the advantage I think that we all have here, is we're learning about these tools, not just for ourselves, but so we can have conversations with other people. You're talking about asking questions earlier and being able to find out what they need solved. And then
while I was listening to you, this is such a not aha, but it's a big aha because it's amplified. So earlier today, you were giving Track some advice. It's about listen to what people bitch about. What did you say? You got a different way of saying it.
Well, complaints.
Yeah. Listen to their complaints. And right now, I'm going to make it my mission to rephrase the way I ask people about their complaints, so it's more emotionally painful. Not sure off the top of my head the best way to do that right now, but the whole idea of, if you think about, like, what are the greatest opportunities? If we're given, Trax Palmer is sitting here, he's 13 years old, he wants to make $1 million as fast as possible. And we're giving him advice, entrepreneurial advice, and be like, convenience. That's where there's trillions of dollars standing in plain sight. We all want convenience. We're afraid of being irrelevant, of our businesses becoming less relevant, labor problems, lack of learning, all these very human problems. And again, if we can create more convenience and help humans be more human, so when we're going through the qualities, so we can be more curious. It's like, think about, I think the combination, the crossover between convenience and human-like qualities and human entertainment, those are the greatest opportunities that stand in front of us right now. Because the things that used to kill us don't kill us anymore. Anxiety and depression and addiction are the things that are killing us. I feel it more now. It's like thick as tar. And it's happened in my own family.
Yeah.
Welcome to the world of 3-second attention spans and fewer than 20 seconds to get a prospect's attention, engage them, get to know, like, and trust you, and say, I want and need what you have. Let's make a deal. Now, introducing Digital Cafe AI, a relationship building AI that will take your hard-earned leads and make them feel like you're sitting down with them for a cup of coffee, listening to their needs and responding to them with a personalized, useful, resourceful solution. It's the perfect AI team. A Digital Cafe AI does hours or days of work that normally requires an expensive team of specialists in minutes. It's the fastest, easiest, automated way to get attention, engagement, and trust to close bigger deals faster. A Digital Cafe AI is a done-for-you service that can be adapted to any B2B or B2C business. Money loves speed, and time kills deals. So visit Digital Cafe AI to see how it will work for you.
All right, so can I ask you some let's do some rapid fire questions that'll get to some practical stuff. So how do you choose what to learn and what to avoid when it comes to AI, especially with limited time?
Yep. So being useful, creating useful things, and being able to spend more time in my unique ability. So in my case, it's creating higher value products for better people, which means finding tools that tell better stories faster, right? So today, we used a bunch of different tools that are in the arsenal of the top 5 to 10 that I use all the time. And I set timers. So I allow myself, so I do not F around and I do not waste time. So I treat, like everyone on my team knows, my time, I value my time at $10,000 an hour. Okay? So that's the way I behave.
Yeah.
And I behave that way, and that made the biggest impact on my income and my value. And also when I play and make things about my unique ability, in my case, I think I've been writing really good books lately. And it's because they're solving my problem and solving the pains and complaints that I hear other people have too.
Yeah.
So that would be.
Good. And by the way, these are the questions that were compiled as a result of the conversation we had, so I'm just going to ask them because they're kind of what we all talked about. How do you choose your top 10 apps for your industry and stay on top of the ever-evolving landscape without getting distracted by shiny objects?
Yep. So the first thing is I found tools that help me not waste time playing with bad tools. So I have really strict time limits. I will, first of all, anytime I see something, so I have access to a lot of information. I subscribe to YouTube, and that's the only social media channel I use because it's easier to judge if something's valuable or not. And I don't click on or use any other social media unless it's someone I really, really trust. So that's the first thing. I just eliminated poison and time wasting. And I demonstrated 2 tools today that I use to determine if a YouTube video is worth watching or not, right? And I always, the only thing I spend time on is something that solves a problem I have or someone else has. So in my top 3. So I just say no to it. So I've created lots and lots of really, really tight containers. $10,000 an hour value, tight container, filter everything. I have a giant clock. It's a countdown clock, and it's on my phone. That's what I do. 10 minutes goes by, I kill it fast, because what did I do? I just burned $2,500.
Gotcha.
Right?
It's a good way to do it.
So then I'll answer the second part, which is the what tools are the best to help get there. So the first and most important thing is the sooner you have a discipline to record absolutely everything all the time, you're amazing at it. You're just record all the time. But everything I record, I tag it and I name it. So I've got a lot of stuff, but I can find it fast. So I use Otter all the time. It's because it's the tool I've been using for a long time, but there's Read.ai, anything that captures and transcribes. And I have 2 things that I run for every Zoom meeting. One is called Fathom, which is really good at creating transcripts and recording stuff, and it's downloadable and editable. And then I use Oasis because I can brainstorm really fast and I can get a result and I can send it to someone. I use Cast Magic, which creates a lot of content that I can look at. This thing called chathub.gg, which lets me run 6 AI models at the same time. And my approach is the same way I approach humans, which is, if you think about you, I'll tell you one of the reasons why you're so successful is because you have a massive database of people who respond to you, so you're positioned well. You can ask 10 experts the same question. So if you get 10 responses, you can tell if 60% of them are crap instantly, and if they don't know what the hell they're talking about. So I use AI the same way. Is like if I can talk to 6 things at the same time and look at it, and now I'm deciding which is best and most effective and most valuable really, really fast.
Yep.
So my effectiveness, time savings, and I've learned how to ask a lot better questions. I think AI made me a better communicator really, really quickly. So the answer is fewer tools, more filters, value your time, get away from poison.
Yeah, good, very good. All right, so next question is, what is the best way to find an implementer to help with the execution of AI tools and strategies versus doing it all on your own?
Okay, so there's, I'll insert a shameless plug because I solved my own problem by creating my own solution. So the first thing I started doing when I started learning AI is I started networking with a bunch of other enthusiasts. And we got together and we shared and we masterminded and we brainstormed and we collaborated and solved each other's problems. So it turned into a little mastermind. And then, I had the next requests are, how do I find someone just like that? I'm like, well, they're harder than hell to find. And they're like, it's not just knowing what tool to use in what order, it's how to figure out a use case and then how to stack them. So you kind of need a combination of someone who's got an engineer's mindset, but who's a marketer first. They have to understand good communication and they're fairly high on the fact finder. So the Colby is a higher fact finder and a higher implementer. It's right in there. So for example, Brad and Joe on my team, they're fractional AI engineers or officers also, in addition to lots of other stuff they do. What I would say right now, for anyone who's just looking for this, right now there's a massive plethora of AI agencies that are popping up, just like digital marketing agencies. They're a dime a dozen. Most of them are a bunch of fakes, but they're figuring out a lot of this stuff and they're consuming massive volumes of content. And what you do is create little projects. So it's sort of like the Fiverr economy all over again. Get someone young and hungry to solve a problem, and they've got to get used to your business use cases. But that's the mindset. And I think this is one of the greatest opportunities for young people ever. We did an episode called The Clear Collar Worker that we just published, Dan and I. And so blue collar, white collar, clear collar is the AI engineer.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so what are the most effective use cases of AI in different industries to provide a broad view of possibilities and spark new ideas?
Yep. The first one that's the easiest is fast marketing content. So like what we are demonstrating right now, we're creating content, it's being recorded in real time, it's going to be transcribed and turned into a bunch of marketing content, follow-up newsletters with Cast Magic, Oasis, and Otter for the most part. Okay, breathtakingly simple. I'd always start with marketing. That's the easiest right now. Make a better story, and then learn how to create derivative content. And if you can teach someone on your team to do that too, that's an accelerant. The next thing is, in my book, there's a mindset model: millionaire mindset, billionaire mindset, trillionaire mindset. Millionaire mindset is, where can I increase productivity and increase revenue? So it's time-saving mindset plus just using cheap off-the-shelf tools that are like once off, prompt result. The second is to automate. And right now, these are things to look up. One is called make.com. Another one's called Airtable. And there's Zapier. Those are kind of like the 3 biggies right now. And it's fairly easy and cheap to automate any big problem that's super annoying, lame things, as you would say. And then the third is commercializing a solution that you have. That's the trillionaire mindset. And so your unique ability wrapped up with automation, commercialized. And I think there's like that one-person billion-dollar company is going to happen really fast because of that mindset.
Do you think you'll ever do that?
I'm going to tell you why the answer is no. God, I'm going to get emotional answering that question. More does not make me happy at all. Less does. I don't need more life. Like, I'm really happy. I like money, but I've been married 23 years, and you know my shit, buddy. I have a tool that made me more human. I'm happy because of it. I'm working with people I love. I'd rather create a couple billionaires and more millionaires and I just want to be with them. Collaboration is what I love. I don't really care about me in that context. I'm a lonely entrepreneur. That's what feeds me.
Yeah. It'd be interesting if you actually, who becomes the first billionaire,
One person billionaire, or
what they would say, what of how they actually got there, because it would be interesting to, you don't know what it's like to run a 4-minute mile if you've never run a 4-minute mile. Well, you can maybe know what it's like. There's observational, maybe there's, but to actually see, here's what it is, here's what it takes, and it's. To just break it down to making money, call it the millionaire mindset, the billionaire,
it's amplified value creation and improvisation are some of the concepts that I think I've seen the most breakthroughs happen fastest.
Yeah. Well, and look, I mean,
make it up and make it real, Dan would say.
Totally. No, nothing happens if someone doesn't have the vision to make it happen. Elon Musk wants to colonize Mars. He's not colonized Mars, but he wants to, right? And until someone actually starts down the path, there's no way it'll ever happen, right?
No one else is launching all those rockets that fast either.
Exactly. And so...
how sweet are you? Thank you.
And so... let's just take something that both of us know how to do relatively well. Not at billion or trillion dollar levels, but definitely at $1 million levels, right? We both run multi-million-dollar businesses currently, but I ain't running no.
It's a miracle.
I ain't run. Yeah, it is. And I'm not running some $100 million a year company. I'm not running a $1 billion company.
$100 million problems.
Yeah. So what I would say though is selling. Money at a discount is one of the easiest things to sell. I would much rather teach events around how to fix your head, how to look at your health issues. Much harder to sell that stuff. And one thing that someone can learn from an event like this is there are a ton of people that you could walk into their office today with what you learned just today and show them how to leverage themselves. You could write an ad for them that's better than what they're currently running.
Insanely easy.
Yeah, it's funny. I would teach advertising people that are in the advertising business that need more clients. Go get Valpak coupons or money mailers that you get mailed to your house as junk. Look, every person in there is spending money to try to get clients. Find their physical address, write a better ad, send them a copy of their ad saying, hey, you're currently spending X number of dollars to run this ad.
Make an automation that will scan it and build it.
Yeah, I've created a new one for you.
Yeah.
Would you like to have a conversation about it? You will get phone calls. People will call you up. They will want to give you money. And so if you can, selling, every person bought your course and came here because they were buying money at a discount. Out of all the stuff you teach, productivity, how to make more money is a lot more exhilarating than how to increase your productivity, because everyone has greed glands and everyone wants to make more money, right?
And hope.
So my whole thing is sell people what they want, give them what they need.
Yeah.
So it's interesting the way you answer that, because you have survived cancer, you've gone through a lot of stuff, and you know that you can get someone's attention, but underneath all the salesmanship and all the entertainment is this a sweet guy that wants to help people. But you got to get them in the room somehow, right? So
it's nice to be seen.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I never poo-poo money, because people that say money isn't important try living without it. It's really important. And
No,
people
being poor sucks.
Yeah.
And living, like I grew up in a really cold place in Minnesota. It's a nice place to be from. I'm going to my 40th high school class reunion this week. And I just, I don't need to drop the disaster bomb, but it's going to be grueling, because most of them never got out.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that's another thing too. See, like the people that say money can't buy happiness. Rakeem in there, we went to an improv class. He came up with a line where we had to follow up with a line: money can't buy happiness, but poverty can't buy shit.
No, I can't.
And
That's so goddamn good, man.
And the best way to help the poor is to not be one of them. Okay. And the other is I buy happiness all the time. I mean, there's lots of things that money allow me to buy happiness. And even if you're a miserable person with money, you can buy someone medical care. You can help someone that's struggling. So even if you are miserable yourself, with money, you can help a lot of people out of misery. So money is a very valuable thing. And at the same time, it needs to be a servant, not a master. Because both of us know a lot of very wealthy people that it is never enough. And we got Ken Wells back there, and that guy knows billionaires and people that got more money than I could ever fathom, that go to him because they got all the money in the world, but they don't have the joy, they don't have the happiness, they don't have the presence. So
now, hanging out with billionaires is fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know quite a few of them.
Yep.
I have lots of interviews with them online.
Yep.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing.
Yep.
All right, so we'll get back into some practicalities here. So let's see. So how can sharing success stories and examples of AI implementation inspire and motivate others in the community? And let me preface it with this.
Yep.
When I learned that I could have success doing what I did, teach in my carpet cleaning business. Let's just go to that one. Then I started teaching other people, and a lot of the people I would teach would buy my course, they would use it, they would have success. Others would buy the course, they wouldn't go through it, they wouldn't do it, whatever. And what I learned about that is that someone can look at you, or they can look at someone else and say, that person's successful. They can look at someone else that use it, that person's successful. They can do it, but the real obstacle is, how can I do it? See, that's the biggest thing, is like, you can see all these other people that have done it, but until you can be like, how can I, Jeff Spencer has had to go through this with mindset stuff. Well, yeah, but I'm not one of them. Well, what is one of them? What is it that makes a champion mindset, right? What is it why is someone a winner and another person is a loser? So winners find ways to win, and losers find ways to lose. Every person wherever I'm losing in life, I have figured out a way to lose. Wherever I'm winning in life, I have figured out a way to win. So so how can sharing success stories and examples inspire?
All right, so I have an idea for the very end of today, when we do kind of our wrap-up integration and how all these tools come together, is we'll capture some of the successes of some of the people that have been through our program. And I have some of them, but you can't get transformational stories unless you're in person sometimes, and you don't get the same one unless you're doing an in-person conversation. So one of the things that Matt brought up is, how do we create things like a competition and success? And I gotta tell you, the honest to God truth is, I hadn't thought of that specifically. I can't believe, but you're a sports guy. You spent your time in competition and know the value of doing that. You brought it up, some variation of this as well. It's just, how do we create this community? We opened up today with, what's something that you've experienced, and what's a transformation you've had. And it's not all financial, right? It's like, I saved some time, I inspired someone, I created a better product. And I'm a little speechless, because while I was doing online info marketing, everything was about getting that testimonial, and I'd string together a bunch of testimonials so more people would buy stuff, and someone would trigger, God, if that person can do it, I can do it too. And like, I knew every psychological trick. And that made me sick. It's like, it didn't make me well. So I'm rethinking that through a completely different lens right now, of like, how can we celebrate success by capturing the transformation? The real answer is, how do we create more use case examples that are specific. And that's what's wrong with AI right now. There's all these tools and there's all these shiny objects and not a lot of successes, not a lot of specifics. People are like, yeah, it's good, it's making me think, but like, it's like, I did this, I got that, I did this, I got that. And I know what the answer is, but I can't give you a better specific example. Then I need to capture better successes while they're happening and automate them better. I have to take my own advice.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, here's why, because we're in the world of people talking about moonshots all the time.
Yep.
And even my goal with, save 20,000 lives, a year from people that are dying of opiate addictions. Well, for one, that's not going to happen right away. Secondly, I hope we can get to that. But ultimately, like, you don't change a bunch of lives. I think it's a cop-out when people are like, I want to impact 1 billion people.
Yeah, you haven't even helped yourself yet, much less 5.
Right. So the question is, how do you help one person?
Yeah.
And can you help 2 people? Can you help 5 people? Can you help 10 people? I already know we save lives. We do that with Andre Norman. We've proven that. But how do we, quote unquote, scale it? And I think certain things don't need to be scaled. Certain things don't need to be growth is good unless you got cancer, right? So there's certain things that are worth growth and other things that are not.
Yeah.
And so, the question with the community, I think everyone here, whatever it is you want to solve, whoever it is you want to be a hero to, wherever you want to leverage yourself, and it could be for money or it could be for frickin' just curiosity and entertainment and just doing life.
I need a great community manager is the answer to that, who thinks that way all the time. That's the real answer. I don't have the right who at the moment who's in that mindset all the time.
Can that who be an AI?
I don't, no. Yeah. Here's the thing. It's, no. I have not seen strong evidence of that yet. It's a good setter. It's a good data gatherer, a good marketer. Man, I haven't seen AI do community. Well, other than, I'm sure, Reddit and Facebook and Instagram and TikTok are AI managed. We don't have to go down that rabbit hole, but that's if I were a betting man.
Yeah. We
not
definitely
the kind of community I want to be part of or create.
Yeah, people have a lot less real human friends than they used to, and by all accounts, when they measure friendships and stuff, because we have these platforms that make you think that friends that check a box that say friend is the same as having a friend. Many people just have a bunch of digital acquaintances that are called friends. So you got to be careful of, so be a human. Okay,
yeah, man.
So you've been doing this training in the AI Accelerator and going through implementing the playbooks. So talk about the next phase of implementing it to scale yourself, your team, and your business.
Yep. So when we did the AI Accelerator, basically we surveyed, every time I ever spoke, I surveyed people and say, hey, what's your biggest problem? And then we create a bunch of scripts that you could copy, paste, video, and do something with cheat tools and get a result, feel success, and create some impact and some money. So what I've learned over the past year and a half of doing this stuff right now is we have to get tighter and more specific with stronger use cases that create more value. That's the pressure we're feeling right now. It's the pressure Joe's feeling. My entire team is, all right, like today you said, I've got a big messy inbox. There's a lot of people with big messy inboxes. It's so weird, man. No one's fixed that.
Yeah.
No one's fixed it. Google hasn't fixed it.
Oh, no,
Gmail
I'm
sucks.
sitting there going, what an opportunity
Apple Mail
this
is crap. They're all terrible. Outlook, right? So right now, I think we're going to try what we've all agreed. So we have a lot of meetings about this. We're going to do fewer things better and that have more impact. And what comes up over and over again, I want to spend more time in the human space and the areas where I know we can do better, which is storytelling, more impact, is packaging, positioning, messaging.
Yep. So I want to give an opportunity for anyone here to ask a question. Maybe we can limit it to 2 that has a burning desire to ask any question that I did not ask, that I should have asked, that you really want an answer to. First 2 people to raise their hand gets to ask a question. James. Miss 100% of the shots you don't take, as Wayne Gretzky said.
Exactly. Your head's on the pillow, about to go to sleep at night. What keeps you up? What are some of the last thoughts in your mind before you go to sleep on a somewhat regular basis?
Well, I got the usual batch of family stuff, right? So on a business AI level, I assume that's what the question is. Right now, what's keeping me up is being able to articulate this use case challenge. Like the challenge is I'm overwhelmed, I got a whole bunch of stuff. How do I solve my human problems? And I got the same human problems everyone else does, which is inspiring my people to use these tools more often. And I don't know how to get people to keep up with me, and I forget how fast this stuff's moving sometimes. That's what keeps me up right now.
Yeah, it's funny. I sit and think I don't have a good answer for that because every night it's something different, and it's some sort of fear or anxiety mostly, and some sort of.
I did want to keep it short and simple.
Yeah. No, but it's an interesting question because there's the driven, the hunter versus the farmer. We had Doug Brackman who wrote the book Driven. He's a Genius Network member. He was here for the last couple days, and people that are hunters, they have a hard time sleeping because they have to protect. And so it doesn't make it bad. It just makes it a certain level of wiring. But I'm going to think about that one. Yes.
Not necessarily after AI, but maybe as an evolution from AI. But your next act.
Yeah. Here's what's been brewing for a couple of years. My wife is a super fascinating, interesting human being. And she just got a wild hair up her rear end a couple of years ago and went to Chip Conley's Modern Elder Academy, MEA, which if you haven't looked it up, it's amazing, which is in Pescadero, Mexico. And she said, I want to move down here. I want to buy some property down here and live down here. It's amazing. It's paradise. So, of course, we bought property, started working on a project, and then I have a couple team members, our creative teams in Malaga, Spain. Some of our developers are in Poland and Germany. So we're building a home in Spain, and I've been meeting and working with some more internationals lately in my team, and it's helped me grow and think better. And I just love the idea of impacting some international lives with AI. And the second part, my wife is on my ass right now. She wants me to adapt AI Accelerator for young people. And I don't want to capitalize it, is the God honest truth. It's going to take a check writer, but there's so many young people, especially young men right now, who are lost, and I think teaching them how to become AI apprentices is it could solve so many challenges and create so much purpose. It's bigger than me. I don't mind being a
steward of it?
Yes. Someone else has to handle it all. And if that involves me writing a business plan or me writing money or me running a nonprofit, the answer is hard no. I love my life and I love my wife too much for that, but it's necessary. So if it isn't me, it's someone else.
So I read this yesterday. I have it on the, it's hanging on a little frame in we have this bedroom closet that goes through the master bedroom into the kitchen area, and it says it's from Alfred V. Souza, S-O-U-Z-A, Souza. I don't even know who it is. And I was saying yesterday, I still have it.
It was not on a bathroom wall.
You think, no.
Okay.
No,
Right.
it's close to a bathroom, but it's not quite in the bathroom. No, it's like this little picture frame. You probably can't see it from up here. But it says, for a long time, it had seemed to me that life was about to begin, real life, but there was always some obstacle in the way, something to be gotten through first, some unfinished business, time still to be served or a debt to be paid. Then life would begin. At last, it dawned on me that these obstacles were my life. And, I used to have all these culture wall signs back here, gaping void images, and one of them is a quote from Dan Sullivan that said, other people's bad news is your good news. And there's a lot of bad news in the world. There's always going to be bad news in the world. And the thing that I frame myself is that problems are actually the raw material we need in order to make more money and to help other people.
Yeah.
If you're hungry, that's bad news. But if you can go to a restaurant, that's good news. If you break a leg, that's bad news. But if you can go to a doctor and you can get help, that's good news. And so most money, not all, but most money is made transforming other people's bad news into good news. They're bored. Do you have some sort of entertainment? Do you have a movie theater? Do you have something that you can do that can turn their boredom into more excitement? And so, one of the keys is not to run away from problems, but to reframe them as all of the raw materials needed in order to help and accomplish what it is. And if you are a person that can utilize AI to take so many of the world's problems and make them a little easier, add a little bit of sunshine to people's lives, that's great. Because most people hate problems and they think they're going to wake up one day. Their dream is, I want to have my beach house where I can walk outside and all my no problems are there and everything's wonderful. And we have great material things and wonderful relationships. And that's a fantasy world. My opinion, and take what you like and leave the rest, as they say at 12-step groups. My perspective is the treadmill of shit never ends. It is constant, never ending. What does change, though, is the way I view it, how I resource myself, how I interact with it, and how I minimize or eliminate some of the unnecessary crap that I would bring into my life. Because, the fact is, there's always problems, and that, I think, is good news. There's good news, and AI will create a tremendous amount of solutions and a tremendous amount of complexity. And the people that bring simplicity to the complexity of people's lives are the ones that not only are probably going to make the most money, but they're the ones that are going to do the good. So this is going to be a very complex thing for most people. So I just want to acknowledge everyone for coming here and sitting through this and investing your time, your attention, your money, your effort, your energy, which I call TAMI, investing your TAMI into learning about this, because the people that will not, you have an opportunity to help them with this stuff, and just F around and find out, and just do that on a daily basis, even if it's 5 minutes of effing around and finding out. And I love to say cuss words, but I'm somehow having a sort of
You're doing a good job, Joe. You're doing a good job.
Yeah, Joel Weldon's not here, and I'm trying to. What the hell's wrong with me, Ken? I need therapy.
Well, he doesn't want to sin when Daddy's not in town.
Yeah. So the fact is, there's you're already doing it. So don't think that you're, And the last thing about, like we talked about, Dan Sullivan. Dan Sullivan has this great line where he says about opportunity. If you were to ever go swimming in the ocean, and you were to get out and you're walking on the beach, people are like, well, how was the swim? You would never say, it was good, but I missed a lot of the ocean. It's like you can't touch the whole ocean. You're missing opportunities sitting here. There's an endless amount of opportunities. And one of the things I wasted so many years of my life was I didn't do enough. I didn't reach it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. Like, forgiveness is giving up the hope that one day you're going to have a better past. You can't go back and change it. All you can do is learn from it. And, the fact is there's so many opportunities, and I think people are going to get really messed up because they're like, I could use AI to do everything.
Yep.
Yeah, you probably could. But you only need a few tools in your toolbox in order to have a really great life, make a lot of money, if you want to make a lot of money, and just help a lot of people. And so just keep at it. And what didn't I ask you that I should have, if anything?
No, we did a good job. You did a great job. This was.
I hope.
I really enjoyed it. Did you enjoy it, Joe?
Okay. Thank you.
You've evolved the most as an interviewer out of anyone I know since I met you.
Well, thank you.
Great job. Yep. No, thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I hope we'll stick around for the wrap up when we build the last components of this. If not, thanks for spending time with us.
I'm going to hang around.
Network's awesome. Appreciate you so much. Love you. Sit by.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
Mike Koenigs.
Thanks, man.
Thank you, brother.
That was great.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
All right. So